Okay. Fast and dirty, how to paint Elven steel. First off, I know the rules say white veins, the white looks like crap. Let's call it a stylistic white. Use silver. Don't use white. When you use white, it looks like a goddamn zebra. So, here's what we got. I got some silver paint, regular old silver acrylic paint. This happens to be some silver that I mixed with a little bit of black to darken it up even a little bit more because I like it. It's just silver paint. This is a round brush. It's a cheap brush. It didn't cost $1. Now this one happens to be an acrylic brush. The bristles are a little bit stiff. That's fine. Always wet your brushes. That way when the paint leaches up into it, it comes back out. You don't have to wet it much. Just dip it once. Wipe it off. Get most of the water back out. You just want it to be moist. Here's a crappy sword. We're going to put this into play as an Elven steel sword. We just PD'd it on Saturday. Just plastic dipped the whole thing. The sword's in rough shape. That's okay. That's why we're putting it in the game as a magic item, because it's not going to last more than a year or so, and that's fine. We like these things to come out of game. Yeah, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this brush. I'm going to dip it right into my paint. I'm going to get a good glop of it on the brush. And I'm going to take it over here on a paper towel, and I'm going to roll it around a little, get a little bit off of it. This isn't like dry brushing, where I'm going to wipe a lot of paint off. I want to leave some paint on the brush. So I'll wipe a little bit off. Now I'm just going to take this brush, and I'm holding it way up on the end, and I'm not holding it real tight. And I'm just going to kind of draw it along. I didn't have enough paint on the brush. More paint. Ooh, yeah, that's probably too much. Just going to kind of draw it along the blade like this in an irregular kind of fashion. I'm also kind of twirling the brush as I'm doing this. Just kind of moving it around. You know, you're doing it with a purpose, but you're also kind of trying to do it like randomly. Lots of times with this, less is more. You don't need much more than something every couple of inches. Twirling it and dragging it along here. No real effort to make any kind of a pattern. No real effort to connect the dots. It should look random and natural. It should not look like lightning bolts. It should not look like zebra stripes. It should not look like somebody painted it on. It should look like sort of natural veins in the metal. It's not metal, you know, it's foam, whatever. So I just keep doing this. A little bit more like this. Once in a while they cross over, that's fine, whatever. And so then, if you're really motivated, I'm going to stop there, I'll do the rest later. If you're really motivated about it and you want to do a little bit more, you can take the tiniest bit of white. I use a palette with my paints because I'm a professional painter guy. No, I use a palette because, I don't know, because that's what the pros do, and I have delusions of grandeur. Anyway, a couple drops of white. I'm using expensive Vallejo acrylics because I was painting GW minis tonight. You can use whatever, craft acrylics. If they're too goopy, too thick, don't be afraid to water them. These acrylic paints are not like that. So I'm going to get a little bit on here, like we talked about. I'm going to rub it off on this towel a little bit. And I'm just going to, right kind of following the lines that we already did. I'm just going to drag the very tip of this white along here. Again, not trying to stay in the lines, not trying to go out of them either. Just sort of following the tracks that are already there. If it mixes a little with the silver, again, not the end of the world. If you get too much, though, you want to wipe off your brush. Again, I'm still just kind of following along what we already did with the same technique. I'm holding the very tip of the end of the other end of the brush, dragging the brush across. It doesn't hurt you to do a little bit. If you're going to do just white, just do it the same way. These little white veins, they're very subtle. They're not they're not loud and zebra looking like I keep seeing on stuff that people are doing. That's you're doing it wrong. Cut it out. I will accept that it was my fault because I never really showed anybody the right way to do this. But now I've showed you, so stop painting your shit to look like zebras. So yeah. So anyway, just you can highlight the ones you already did a little bit. Carry this one over here. If you can, make them go, you know, around the blade so they look a little more natural. I'm doing some of these too fast, so the white's mixing a little bit too much with the silver, and it doesn't really matter because it's supposed to look natural. So anyway, well, whatever, that's enough of that. While we're here, we're going to do the bonus dry brushing class, because what the hell, I'm making a stupid video, so let's keep doing videos. So we're going to do, we want the hilt of this thing to be, I don't know, gold, whatever. So I'm going to take some goldish color here. This is actually a Vallejo color, again, called brass, but whatever, it looks like gold. Oh, no, wait, here, this is even better. I hate using my expensive paints on shitty weapons. Here's some crappy acrylic dazzling metallics. Yeah, whatever. Just shake the shit out of this. Put a little squirt in my palette. I don't want to mix it there. I'm going to put a little goop of it in there. This freaking camera even pointing the right way, can you? Yeah, I guess you can't see what I'm doing. All right. Now I'm going to take a brush, a stiff bristle brush. This is a flat profile brush. I prefer these for dry brushing big areas. This is about the biggest one I have. This one's a crappy cheap craft store acrylic. This is a Citadel large dry brush. Citadel large dry brush is probably a $15 brush. This thing probably cost 50 cents. For our purposes, no real difference. So use the cheap ones. Since we're dry brushing this time, I'm not going to wet my brush. This destroys your brushes. Doesn't really matter. What you do is you get some paint on the end of the brush, and then on a paper towel, you wipe the brush until paint stops coming off. Then you go to your thing that you want to dry brush, and you kind of whip this thing back and forth across it real quick. It's not going to do much at first. You got to keep going back, dip it in, wipe it off. Use paper towel or napkin or old washcloth like I have here, whatever you want, and just keep doing this. You want to try to go against the grain of any kind of indentations that are in it. So if I was going this way, the bristles would be going down in this crack, and it would defeat the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to get the paint to come off on the raised areas and not go into the darker areas. So just keep doing like this. A little more paint on the brush. Wipe the brush off. And you whip your brush to and fro. Again, this weapon's in terrible shape. This is the reason we're making it Elven steel in the hands of somebody who would use it a lot. It's probably not going to last a season. Somebody who's going to baby it and just use it for hip candy, it'll probably last a couple years. Maybe more if you don't stab with it, maybe less if you fight a lot. Anyway, I'm just going to do one side of it because nobody really wants to watch me do this all night. So there, whatever, there. So now that's dry brushed. So now there, bam, Elven steel sword. Didn't take us, you know, more than a couple minutes. You could take a little gold, a little heavier here if you want. Highlight the edge. You could screw it up like that and get it down the crack. Nah, that was shitty. So, because it's acrylic paint, everything's wet, I'm going to take a small brush like this, get it some water. Go like this. Water this down. Kind of use the brush like a scrub. Stick my in there. I'm going to grab another brush, a little bit larger brush. I'm going to wet this one. This one's clean. That's why I'm doing this. Run it through there. Use it like a little sponge. Rinse. Dry. Clean out our crack. Out our crack. And nice thing about acrylic paints is that they're very forgiving. So there. And it fairly well cleaned out our crack. Anyway, so there. So you've learned how to paint Elven steel. You've learned how to dry brush, and you've learned how to fix your fuck-ups if you're using acrylics. So, anyway, that's how to do it. Please, please, you know, please don't make any more zebra swords.